115 times a kill went wrong because a humpback whale, 40 tons of it, swam straight into a pack of hunting killer whales to shield an animal it had never met. Not another humpback, a seal, a sea lion, sometimes a different whale entirely. Scientists went back and counted every case, and where they could tell who started it, the humpbacks started it 57% of the time. They chose the fight. Nobody knows for certain why. You know the feeling that sits under a story like that. You have seen the clips, a dolphin circling a swimmer. A wild animal that seems, for one impossible second, to be on your side. And some quiet part of you wants it to be true so badly that you almost let it be. So here is the plain answer, up front, before we go anywhere near the deep water. Some wild animals really do end up shielding humans and other creatures from danger. That part is real and it is documented, but almost none of it is the animal deciding to save you. It is something stranger, and in a way heavier, than kindness. Start with the whales, because they are the strongest case we have. Most viral animal rescue videos are a single shaky clip you can explain 100 ways. The humpback work is different. It is a review of 115 separate interactions, gathered over years, and the pattern in it is hard to wave away. Here is the pattern. When mammal-eating killer whales in that review went after humpbacks, they attacked 85% of the time, and they went for the calves, baby whales. And the killers doing the hunting were 95% of the time where the type was known, the mammal-eating kind. This is the real war of the open ocean, and it is fought over the young. Now hold that next to your own chest for a second. A humpback mother defending her calf is doing the oldest thing a body can do. You would do it without a thought. That reflex, that hard wiring to throw yourself between the small thing and the teeth is not gentle, and it is not a decision. It is closer to gravity. And that is the twist that unlocks the whole video. The scientists offered 2 words for what the humpbacks are doing, and neither of them is rescue. One is mobbing, the other is interspecific altruism. Mobbing is when prey ganging up and harassing a predator becomes worth the effort, so the behavior spreads and hardens over generations. Once a whale is built to charge killer whales on sight, it does not stop to check who the killers are eating. So the seal getting saved, the sea lion, the sunfish, the human in the water if a human were ever there, might just be standing inside a fight that was never about them. The humpback is not extending mercy outward from its calf. The calf defense simply spills. A behavior aimed at its own young overflows and lands on whoever happens to be nearby. Protection as a side effect. The kindest thing in the sea, and it may be nobody's intention at all. This is the line you have to hold on to, because everything else in this story bends around it. A protective outcome and a protective intention are 2 completely different claims. One is about what happened, the other is about what the animal wanted, and you can have the first with none of the second. We are wired to collapse those 2 things into one. Somebody is pulled from the surf by a wild animal, and we reach, instantly, for the word chosen. Because when a human protects you, they meant to. So we hand the whale a human mind, and we hand it human reasons, and we feel warmer for it. The evidence just will not let us keep that warmth for free. But before this turns cold, look at what wild animals genuinely do offer us, because it is real, and it might be better than the fantasy. Go to a lagoon in southern Brazil, near a town called Laguna. For more than 140 years, wild bottlenose dolphins there have been fishing alongside human beings. Not trained dolphins, not captive animals in a show. Free wild dolphins who have decided, generation after generation, that the humans standing in the shallows are useful. Here is how it works. Migratory mullet run through the murky water so cloudy the fishermen cannot see the fish. The dolphins can. So the dolphins herd the mullet toward the shore, and then they signal, a roll, a dive, a sharp move, and that signal tells the fishermen the exact moment to throw their nets. The people cast on the dolphins' cue. The nets come up full, and the dolphins are not being charitable. When the humans throw, the school scatters, and in the chaos the dolphins snap up the fish that break away. Both sides eat. Scientists call this a mutualism, which is the unromantic word for a deal where everybody wins. What the researchers found is that the whole thing lives or dies on timing, on the 2 species staying in sync, human and dolphin reading each other well enough to move as one. Sit with how strange that is. A wild predator looked at a human being and did not see prey and did not see a threat. It saw a partner. It built a working relationship with our species and passed it down for 14 decades, longer than most human institutions last. That is not a rescue. It is something rarer. It is a wild animal choosing, over and over, to cooperate with you. And it is not only the dolphins. In parts of Africa, there is a small wild bird called the greater honeyguide, and it does something that sounds like a folktale until you learn it holds up. The honeyguide flies to a person, calls, and leads them, tree by tree, to a hidden nest of wild bees. The human breaks the nest open and takes the honey. The bird takes the wax and the grubs left behind, food it could never reach on its own. Researchers found the 2 sides actually talk. The human makes a special call, a signal that means, let us go hunting, and the bird answers, and the two of them move through the bush together toward the same prize. A wild, free-living bird recruits a human as its tool, its problem solver, the muscle that opens the door. No cage, no training, just a deal, written into the bird, between a bird and our whole species. So notice what these two true stories have in common, and what they do not. They are cooperation. They are food. The dolphin and the Honeyguide are not saving you from anything. They want the mullet and they want the wax, and you are the best way to get it, which is, if you are honest, its own kind of astonishing. A wild mind reached across the gap between species, not to be loved, but to work with you. Now walk back into the dark water, because this is where the mirror really turns. In 2004, off the coast of New Zealand, swimmers reported that a group of dolphins circled them tightly and would not let them move, while a great white shark was in the area. It became a story people told for years, dolphins forming a ring, holding the line, standing guard over frightened humans. And it might be exactly that. But it is one story, told by the people it happened to, and there is no way inside a dolphin's head to know what it meant. Because that same tight circling is what dolphins do for a dozen reasons that have nothing to do with you. It can be anti-predator behavior, the pod bunching up because a shark is near, the same way a herd tightens. It can be social herding. It can be plain curiosity, wild animals drawn to a strange thing in their water. The circle you experienced as a shield, the dolphin may have experienced as its own fear. And there is a stranger possibility still, one that quietly rewrites a lot of these tales. Mistaking identity. When a wild animal responds to a drowning swimmer, or a small child, or a person thrashing in distress, it may be answering something ancient in itself, treating you as if you were a calf, a pup, a member of its own kind in trouble. The tenderness is real. It is just not aimed at a human. You caught the edge of an instinct built for something else, and it happened to fall on you. Then there is the version with no tenderness at all, territorial defense. An animal that appears to be guarding a person may simply be defending its space, its food, its offspring, or its own life, and you are standing in the middle of it looking saved. The same charge that reads as heroism from the shore reads, from the animal's side, as fury that has nothing to do with rescue. This is the part the pretty videos never show you, and it is the reason nobody serious tells you to trust a wild animal when you are in danger. The whale that shields a seal could crush you without noticing. The dolphins that ring you might scatter the instant the shark turns. Wild is wild. Reading it as a friend is a story we tell for our own comfort, and out on the water that story can get you killed. And yet, when you lay all of it out, the whales and the dolphins and the little bird that leads you to honey, something surfaces that is bigger than any single clip, and it is not disappointment. Look again at what is actually happening in every one of these cases. A behavior built for one purpose overflows and protects something it was never meant to protect. A mother's defense of her calf spills onto a stranger. An instinct shaped for a pup lands on a human child. A hunt for wax turns two species into partners. None of it is aimed at you. All of it reaches you anyway. That is not a lesser story than the fairy tale. It is the truer one, and it asks more of you. Because it means the protection you find in the wild is not a gift somebody decided to give. It is the overflow of a creature fully occupied with its own survival, its own young, its own hunger, and the shelter you find inside it is the shelter of standing near something powerful that is busy being alive. You have felt that. The stranger whose reflex caught you before they chose to. The parent whose fierceness over their own child spilled out and covered you too. The moment you were kept safe, not because you were the point, but because you were close to something that was defending what it loved. Almost none of the care that has ever reached you was aimed at you alone. It spilled. It overflowed. And it held you all the same. The wild animals are not protecting us. They are protecting what they cannot help protecting, and now and then, we are lucky enough to be standing inside the reach of it. That is not less than kindness. Out here, where nothing owes you anything, it may be the only kind there is.